And then I just had a catch up one day with director of cricket at Middlesex, Alan Coleman, who I'd met throughout the way, playing through my playing days and working with him. And the opportunity was there. They were things were going for them, wasn't going amazingly well for them. I think that the coaches there at the time had done a great job, and would really, but they just wanted a change of direction. And he spoke to me about what they were looking for and what they were needing at that stage, and asked if I would take over, or come in and see it from a different side or a different light on something that they were doing. And it literally happened within the space of 3 or 4 days, where it was potentially coming in to do a little bit of work, to see a couple of things, and then all of a sudden progress to, look, well, we're going in a new direction. We want you to have a go as interim head coach. Would you be excited? Which would give them an opportunity for a bit of change to see where they want to go, and then also for me a great opportunity to get into coaching, to dip my toe in, as I say, into the county scene, to see if it suits me, if I like it, and if it suits the club as well. And to be honest, I absolutely loved it. I loved being back in, coaching a team, being part of the decision making again, and all those type of things that go with leadership and team dynamics.
Episode of Stumped. I'm CS Chiwanza, and joining me today is former South Africa player and current Middlesex interim coach, Dane Vilas. Dane, welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here and good to
Yeah,
see
it's
you
been a
again.
while. How have things been going? I see you've been busy. Aren't you supposed to be in retirement?
Yes, actually. Supposed to be in retirement from cricket, from playing days. Took a bit of time off, doing a few odds and ends, reconnecting with the family. But as you said, now back in coaching, back in cricket, the interim head coach, which has been fantastic and amazing to get back in, and doing a couple of things now with the team.
You know, I would have thought after seeing a few of your stuff on LinkedIn that you would right now you would be in an office somewhere, doing a regular 9 to 5. How was that period when you were just away from the game?
It was good, to be honest. It's something that I wanted. I wanted to get away and outside of the game a little bit, obviously with keeping an eye on it. I wanted to see what else is out there outside of the cricket world. I'm still quite interested in seeing different aspects and different avenues to go down. But ultimately, it's amazing to be back in playing with the team on the field in a tracksuit, which has been fantastic. I was never really that far away from the game as such. The work I was doing was still sports and cricket related,
Mhm.
but yeah, this is now more full time, and really back in, sort of, you know in my comfort zone of the cricket field, or the boundaries, if you want.
you you actually shared an interesting bit about your return, and you know how did this happen? The Middlesex gig. How did it happen, and how did you know that this is the right time to come back full time?
To be honest, I think I was quite lucky with it all, how it came in, and I think, as sports people, I think, there's lots of, obviously you need to work hard and you need to do things, but there's luck that comes along the way with anything, and you've got to take these good opportunities when they do come. So, I was doing a lot of work at Wimbledon Cricket Club. I'd done some work at some schools. Was sort of in and there around about the area, of the coaching aspect. Nothing full time or too hectic. I didn't believe I was at that stage yet to look at pursuing any sort of county role or anything like that. I didn't want to really do that, because, like I said, I was quite comfortable where I was. I was very comfortable spending time at home with the family, learning as I go along the way. I had a great time at Wimbledon Cricket Club, and still go there all the time. My son is there pretty much every single opportunity we get. So being there was great. Um, and then I just had a catch up one day with director of cricket at Middlesex, Alan Coleman, who I'd met throughout the way playing through my playing days and working with him. And the opportunity was there. They were things were going for them, wasn't going amazingly well for them. I think that the coaches there at the time had done a great job, and would really, but they just wanted a change of direction. And he spoke to me about what they were looking for and what they were needing at that stage, and asked if I would take over or come in and see it from a different side or a different light on something that they were doing. And it literally happened within the space of 3 or 4 days, where it was potentially coming in to do a little bit of work, to see a couple of things, and then all of a sudden progress to, look, well, we're going in a new direction. We want you to have a go as interim head coach. Would you be excited? Which would give them an opportunity for a bit of change to see where they want to go, and then also for me a great opportunity to get into coaching, sort of dip my toe in, as I say, into the county scene. To see if it suits me, if I like it, and if it suits the club as well. And to be honest, I absolutely loved it. I loved being back in, coaching a team, being part of the decision making again, and all those type of things that go with leadership and team dynamics. And it's been fantastic. I haven't realized I'd like it this much. And the most important thing for me is it's a great club to be working with. Obviously, Middlesex is one of the biggest clubs, not only in England but around the world. That name is synonymous with cricket, so it's brilliant to be part of a good county, but also brilliant to be part of a group of players that I see have got some massive potential. And I think if they get things right along the way, the sky's the limit for that group of players. And we want to create something that's going to be really special there. So yeah, it's exciting on both counts. And I've loved the 2 or 3 months that I've been there so far, and looking forward to this month ahead.
And um, early on, I'll come back to your coaching in a bit, but I
Hmm.
want to try to string something here. Early on, you mentioned that you need a bit of luck in sports, both as a player, as a coach, as an admin. And while you were quite lucky as a player, it was not the luck didn't go all the way because you came through in a period when I think first there was Bouch with the gloves and then Queenie, and somehow the teams were settled. So you never really got a good look in. And then when it happened, it was just, just for a bit, just holding the place. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're missing also quite a decent player in the middle there with AB. He was also pretty good with the gloves and as a player. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I think in life or cricket or anything, you do need a bit of luck and a bit of opportunity along the way. Unfortunately, in sport, there's only certain spots for certain people, or certain players, and if the timing is not right, that's what happens. I know there's more players, there's a lot more players than me around the world who just didn't have an opportunity. I know if you were, for instance, like, I mean, if you were a half decent or a very good all rounder coming up through the stage where Jacques Callis was playing, you're never going to get past the great man like him. And similarly, like for me, with not just me, but I remember there was a couple of guys along the way, like even like a Hano Kun, or guys who we were sort of vying for that spot with the gloves. Unfortunately for us, Mark Barcher was there, and he was an absolute legend, and he was playing so well for the Proteas, and sort of the person that he was always going to be in that team. So it was almost felt like sometimes, no matter what you did, you were never going to get in. The runs or the wickets and everything. But saying that, doesn't really matter. Like, you still enjoy the journey along the way and play the best you can. I had a great time playing for the Lions and the Cobras, and then ultimately the Dolphins in the end. But all those things gave me an opportunity to play, but also led me to playing cricket for Lancashire, which was also fantastic. And if I didn't have those setbacks or opportunities along the way, I don't think I would have been where I was. So you've got to take the positives as well from it. So yeah, I think even now, in my coaching stuff, I've been lucky enough that the timing has just worked out for me. Um, that I was sort of in the transition of looking for a couple of things. The Middlesex were also in the transition of looking for it, and it just met up, and it just worked out perfectly. Who knows, if I was somewhere else and this opportunity came, I probably wouldn't have been available for it. So, yeah, I think you got to be ready for every opportunity you do get, but you do need a little bit of luck along the way to help you out.
Yeah, speaking of readiness, sort of remember, think the other time when I had an interview with you, you shared with me quite a cool story about how you made the debut. And, this is, I suppose, it's one of those things that come along with, yes, you do not have a long career, but then, sometimes when you get that shot, that opportunity, memorable things happen. Can you take me through that again? The How the debut happened, the call, and you getting to the stadium.
No, it wasn't my debut. It was actually my last test that I played. It was really interesting. Obviously, I'd played a few games for South Africa. Got dropped after one of the series. Kuni came back and was playing really well. It was against England. I think I went down to PE to play for the Cobras, um, and we had a 4-day game lined up. There was a test match up with the Wanderers, and all of a sudden I got this call from the manager at the time, Doc Musaji, who obviously a great guy as well, and I've got a lot of time for. And I think, why is he phoning me at 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock? Like, I'm just about to get ready to go down for breakfast and start our match, and what's going on. Anyways, I see a couple of missed calls coming out of the shower. Get on the phone to him, and just say, "Hey Doc, how are you going? Or what's all okay?" And he just said, "Look, you need to get to the Wanderers. Where are you? Quinton's injured and he's done his knee, and you next in line." So I was like, "Well, I'm in PE at the moment." So he's like, "Right, I'll sort it out." Anyways, get there, rush downstairs, pack my bags first, speak to the coach, he was Paul Adams at the time, tell him the situation. He already knew, so that was great. And he's like, "Right, just get there." So I sped off to smashed a quick coffee, sprinted off for 100 miles an hour down to the airport in PE. Got on the first plane, jumped on there, and then sat for like 2 hours waiting to get to the Wanderers or to Joburg. Get off the plane, also bags, hurried along through into sort of a police escort, which was waiting for me, which was really, really interesting and quite surreal, actually. Cruising past a couple of people on the highway and through robots and everything, and then with this police escort, which was quite funny, and then straight into the stadium where you know the TV was waiting because they knew I was coming down. We had already started the test match. Luckily we had won the toss and was bowling, so came straight back into, after the rush and all the excitement, into boom the change room and saying hello to the guys and right, and getting your kit on because you're going to be in the next um, one of the next batters in. So that was a bit of a whirlwind sort of experience, or but about 3 or 4 hours of travel, excitement, the buzz, everything, to play a test match, and also ultimately a test match at my home ground, the Wanderers, where I grew up watching so many test matches and games, domestic games and internationals, which was fantastic. So yeah, pretty unique, very interesting, and uh, a good and bad time for me as a player.
As a player who was always there and thereabouts, um, you sort of knew that you always sort of felt that each call up could be the last one. So there was no sense of control. However, when it comes to your professional career, you had more control. You knew when to say, I'm done. What was the moment? When did you know that this is the time for me to walk away as a player? How did that happen?
Um, I just think, I always said when I was playing or coming up as a player, I never wanted to be a player who just hung on or was just playing for the sake of playing. And I always wanted to be challenging myself. I always wanted to be make sure that I was contributing to the team in a positive way. I always wanted to leave the game on a positive or a high note for myself personally and for maybe the club or the people around me. Um, I mean, I love the game. Unfortunately, there are some players along the way or people who just fall out of love with the game, and I never wanted to have that as well. Um, so when I retired, I knew I was playing well. Things were okay. I wasn't playing my best, obviously, and that's the reason why I did retire. I still feel I was contributing enough, but not in the way that I think I had been ultimately. And my desire and my passion wasn't there. And if you don't have that desire or passion or absolute fight all the time, then it's probably a time to look at it. And like I said, I had a lot of players through my career who I wish like, oh, why I wish like just give me a chance, just like I want to be that I can do a bit more. And there were a few players who helped me along the way who also realized that and just said, look, my time is done. I think you need to. I'm happy to pass on to you and to realize that. And I think like I've still got a huge amount of respect for guys like that, who did sort of put their ego aside or put their thing and just realize like, right, this is a better opportunity for this player now. And I always wanted to, if that was ever going to be me, I thought, yeah, I definitely want to do that. Help out where I can, make the most of it, and sort of leave the team or the cricket in a better place where than when I got there. Um, I think also ultimately what happened was I think a bit of the travel and being away from a family affected that a bit. You know, I've got a young family at home. My wife, who we've been together for a long time through dating and now married for a long time, she's always been with me on the cricket field. She knows, and even before I started playing professionally, we were together. So she has given a huge amount for me and for her. The sacrifices that both of us have had to make has been amazing, and I just thought like now like I can't keep doing this to her. I mean, even though she did never put any pressure on me, she gave me the opportunity to do it, but she took a lot of the strain, obviously looking after the house, the kids, sorting her own life out as well, but also without the knowledge of me, where am I going to be, or things how things change in a cricket summer, or even being away for long periods of time in a franchise. So just being around her more, being around my kids now, they were at an age of 8 and 6. They needed me around a bit more. So I just wanted to be with them. So I thought like all those things are sort of happening together. It's probably a good time for me to step away and, best time for me to stop as a player. And then also look at what else is out there. I didn't want to start too late or too, with that opportunity. I wanted to sort of get into the mix and see where I can contribute in a different side of life.
You know, it's very rare that when you're playing, you think about the things that you learn as a player, as a professional, that are transferable to life outside cricket. And I think it's only after you're done that it starts clicking in your head that, oh, I learned this as a player and I can apply it elsewhere in my life. Yeah. What were some of those things that you feel you took away from the game to civilian life as it?
Um, I think of just hard work, dedication to something that you could take away. obviously like the discipline, all those sort of cliches, everything like that. But I think one of the great things, that I've started to use in all aspects of my life, it's always been like this, but also more so, I think, in business or different sports now, or in coaching role that I'm going into, is your reflections are key as a player and for a person now. Obviously, honesty plays a massive role, um, but also one of the main things is being open to feedback, talking about things, and trying to learn where you bet you can. Where I think a lot of people sometimes are not open to, um, you know, not criticism in a way, but feedback, or you know, um, honest talk. Whereas I think as sports people, we get that. We're always looking to improve. We're trying to do things at the best level. And someone, a coach or a trainer, I mean, even one of your peers would say to you, look, I don't think that's good enough, or I don't think what you're doing is right. How can we change it? Let's work on it and make it better. Where some people don't like that. Um, and I'm very happy in having those sort of conversations and trying to get the best out of everything. But coming from a background that is not in like a fighting way, but just in an engaging way, and trying to help get the best out of everyone. I mean, even myself, there's still lots of learnings that I need to take and work on, and I'm very happy to have conversations about that and try to get the best out of it. So I think that's one of the main things that I took um, from playing and from cricket.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like you guys, your family has been involved in sports for so long. So I think there's always that thing where you have that robust engagement because it's what happens in sport. But do you remember the first coach who really set you down and gave you the most honest feedback when you least expected it?
So
No,
I
okay.
lost you there.
No, I was asking that um, do you remember the first coach who gave you the most honest feedback that at a time you least expected it when you almost thought, well, I'm doing all right here. I think I'm ticking boxes. And then they had to sit you down to say, this is not quite it.
Yeah, I think I was very fortunate to go to an excellent school in Johannesburg, King Edward's, or KES, as people would know it, where those sort of disciplines, if you want, were installed in you right from the start. You know, um, peer to peer, it was great. The coaches or the teachers that you had were excellent, and all the coaches along the way, it was always about team first, school first, um, good disciplines, what makes good people all round, and sort of respecting the respect of the game, and respect for your teammates, respect for your school, those type of things. I think that was really good and installed to me from a young age. Obviously, I was very fortunate that I had, my mom and dad were hugely influential in all of those things, and from a young age as well, helping me with that. Watching them, how they run a business, the dedication, all those, those honesties, those reflections that they would have to have trying to make it work and be successful. So I was very fortunate to have that as well. But then I think throughout the ranks, growing up, and the coaches that I had, I was always trying to strive to, you know, push my ego aside. I was never, I mean, I was talented growing up, throughout the ranks, but I never made any of the teams or any of the specific teams. So I knew I had to, work hard or be around different people to help me with that, and try and thirst to try and find the coaches or the, players I was with to be better. So yeah, I think it's
Mhm.
you can't really pinpoint anyone at one stage, but I think just, that sort of mindset from a schoolboy level was excellent. Obviously, we had coaches along the way who, like I said, you respect your team, you respect your school, you respect the opposition also. Has really sort of helped me sort of formalize those the what do you want to call them, those deep rooted those things in my career, my playing life.
Um, one of the things that I always think about is the difficulty in transforming from being a player to being a coach. And last night, while preparing for this, I was thinking that, yeah, your journey, not playing for a single club for almost the entirety of your career, going from the Lions to Western Province, then to the Dolphins, then to Lancashire, it sort of helped you experience different environments. And how do you feel that that journey, uh, as it was, helped to mold Dane the coach?
Yeah, I think it's helped a huge amount. I think, at a time is, we've been with cricket, you're very fortunate to travel all around the world. Travel domestically mainly at the start, and then around the world has been fantastic to see different cultures, environments, different backgrounds of people all around has been incredible. Um, Dealing with I'm coming in as a junior player and then dealing with senior players, and then being a senior player dealing with junior players, and then from a leadership role dealing with, again, younger players coming through to some of the biggest international players around the world. Um, Different organizations, different sort of styles, has been massive. I've also, like I said early on in my previous one, is learning a lot from those school days and those people who helped you along the way. But also, I've always had a yearning to learn about different things, how organizations work, how people work, how to get the best out of people, and the places you're at. And I think the more knowledge and power and information you get only helps you, and has definitely helped me shape to where I am now. I think I've got a good perspective. What I hope I've got a good perspective on in the coaching world of, you know, being and dealing with players of at all stages of their life and their career. I've been there, I've done that, most of it. I probably obviously haven't excelled hugely in the international stage, but I've had a small taste of it. But um, you know, being a guy who's up and coming to a guy who's settled in a team, and then to a guy who's been in and out of a couple of teams, so using all those experiences and trying to get your emotional intelligence up to build that, I think, is only going to help me as a coach. Um, and then obviously on the technical side, working and playing with and being in the mix when it comes to playing cricket at a high level, again, is also going to help me. So, I'm always trying to learn and take as much information as I can in. And now my next sort of step is learning from coaches. Being around a good coaching environments and with people like that to make sure I keep on the learning, which is incredible. And I think you get that hugely quite easily in sports, but I think in life it's so important to learn all those type of things, and get as much information as you can to make it better.
Speaking of learning as a coach, who are some, do you actually, the question should be, do you have coaches who have inspired your approach? And uh, if so, is it confined only to cricket or it spans the wide range of sports that we have available?
Hmm. No, I think it's. I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of cricket coaches along the way, guys, and I think it's also important how you have coaches at different stages of your life. Um, I had school coaches who helped me so much. I remember, like, a guy like Mr. Marks, Eugene Marks, and Mr. Norris, who were fantastic little life lessons and were excellent for us at a schoolboy level, and then through to guys who, when I first started coming through to the B side in Gauteng was Lawrence Batlani. He was also excellent for me and just brought me into an environment, made it good. And then a guy who I needed at the time in Grant Morgan, who was, he was a guy who would push me harder than anybody as a player, because that's what the type of player he was, and I needed that at that stage for me to push myself to be the best keeper I could be, a batter, a hardworking guy who'd sort of mold my career to try and push through to the next level to try and get into that franchise team. And then sort of once I was there, I remember then when I was sort of getting established in the Lions team, but not quite there, and then moving to Cape Town, where initially it was with Shukri, who I was excited to work with again and be part of and get in, but then unfortunately he got let go as I was moving down through some crazy times at the Cobras, and then getting to Richard Pybus, who again at that stage in my career was excellent for me and really helped me figure out what I needed to do to become a professional and some of the technical stuff and move forward and be better each and every single day, to really focus on my game. And some of the drills that we did there at the Cobras, I know a lot of the guys still do, not that a lot of them are playing at this stage, but I would still do day in day out when I was playing, and encourage players to do as well now, all the way up to you know some of the coaches I had later on, in terms of like Glenn Chappell, coming and experiencing the county scene and what that's like, um, throughout the stuff. And then even outside of that, looking at the cricket directorship from Paul Allett to Mark Chilton, coming from a coaching but also a business background as well, has been fantastic. So there's so many people along the way that I think you need to be conscious of, that will help you when you need it, or what you're sort of looking for at that stage of your career. All of these guys as well are not just for the time. I still speak to all of them, really, pretty much. Maybe barring my coaches at school, I don't really speak to them, unfortunately. That's just through just being away. But try to touch base with Morgs every now and again. Um, Even all the guys now recently, it's about using them and speaking to them and having relationships and growing and figuring out. But I think also importantly, on that note, and just thinking on the side topic, is again, you need to figure out what you need, what you want, and as a player and as a person, how to get the most out of that situation and keep learning and keep progressing.
And your retirement was not so long ago. I think you played SA 20 in 2023. So there is a huge possibility that some of the guys you're coaching now at Middlesex might have played against them, or some of them moved from Lancashire to Middlesex. How do you balance that? That aspect of we were teammates or opposition, but now there's a different relationship here because I'm the coach and you're the player.
Yeah, I think that is a really unique and challenging experience, for players. I think I was a little bit more fortunate, where playing against a lot of the guys at Middlesex. Um, so I knew of them and they knew of me, but not on a deep personal level, or not in any sort of other way. I mean, we sort of knew each other. Some guys I knew better than others, some I didn't, but obviously everybody knew of each other. So I had that small link, but not a deep rooted link as well. So which made it easier for me, and I think easier for the team as well. Well, hopefully, for the team, and allowed us to have that small connection, but then also something which I could sort of bring in, something which is not preconceived in any sort of way, to the team and to the individuals within the team, which allowed me to grow into a role. And again, also, I think with any sort of team you come into, whether it's a player, a coach, or whatever, you need to come in, assess the environment, and see where you can fit in to that, figure out what you think the team needs or players and individuals need again at that stage. And my job as a coach is to get the best out of the environment and get the best out of the players and the team. So figuring that out helped a lot. So yeah, I think it was actually it was great timing and great opportunity where there was an people sort of knew the team knew enough about me a little bit without being too comfortable or had preconceived ideas or were too firm in those beliefs that they had, and which allowed me to grow into a couple of things, you know.
The other day, I was listening to a conversation between Jared and Neil Wagner, and one of the things that caught me was how much was when Wagner was explaining that he came to a moment when he realized that despite spending so much time with the New Zealand side, these guys didn't really know about each other because that's how sports has been for a long time. You know, you you have your feelings and they're yours. There isn't that sharing about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your head. It's about we meet, we have to perform, there's a job that needs to be done. But right now it feels like there's a shift in the way things happen. And how do you navigate that? Because sometimes this level of disconnectedness leads certain players into certain mindsets that are not very healthy for them, which is in turn not healthy for the team. So how do you encourage more openness as a coach?
I think just through communication, I try to get the guys to talk a lot. I mean, I say to them often, like, I do like to talk a lot, and they know that. So I encourage them to talk as much as possible. I don't think that there's too much disconnect between the players as well. I think people, obviously, there are groups of players who are more comfortable sharing different types of things with each other. Obviously, you're not going to share everything on your personal side with everybody, but I think in all the teams, a lot of the teams that I've been in, and I try and encourage is to know someone on a personal level, just not a surface level as well, and getting the most out of it. Because yeah, there will be times, and everybody's vulnerable. Everybody's got different things going on in their head and at home or around personally, And I think we spend so much time together as players that you will talk about these things and you will connect and you will help out where you can. So I encourage you guys to talk as much as possible and be with them and be part of the group. So yeah, I don't think it's a huge disconnect only, but yeah, there are times where you won't know, but you will know a lot about each other.
And you spoke of sacrifices early on, and I don't think this is something that the ordinary person appreciates or acknowledges about professional cricket. We see professional cricketers and we think, oh, those guys are living the life. But then the flip side of that is you don't spend time with family, you don't spend time with kids if you have them. You are living out of a suitcase. How now, as a coach, how did you handle it as a player, and how do you help the younger guys coming through to navigate that aspect of life as a coach?
Yeah, I think it's obviously it depends again what sort of life stage you are. When you're young and you're 20 and things are happening, it's easy to move around and it's easy to be in and out of hotels and chat or whatever. Versus when you were slightly older, um, maybe in your 30s, and you got a bit of a family, you got a family at home, you got this, you got pressures, you got all these other things that are happening that you want to be around more. So it's about navigating those different type of things. But yeah, I mean, there's huge sacrifices that you do make. Obviously, we are very privileged, and it's fantastic to be a professional sportsman because you get access to a lot of things. But the amount of birthdays I've missed or weddings. I know my daughter, she always jokes with me now. I mean, she's only 8. That I think I've only been around for 2 of her birthdays, or 1 actually, because the rest I was on tour somewhere or being around. And she's like a mom. She gives me a bit of stick along the way, so she's quite chirpy. But like those small things, like not being there, missing weddings, even little things like not being able to plan anything. In life, you get so busy and you plan weekends away or you plan dinners or whatever. And unfortunately, I can't do that with my friends or my family to say, look, on where we now, 2nd of September in on the 30th of September, let's why don't we book a trip? Often I've had to cancel plans and those type of things. So those small little things, I think in isolation are fine, but look, over time they can get a bit hectic and a bit more and a bit more annoying as you go along. But that's just the nature of the beast, and that's the life we live in. Things can change in an instant in sport. Whereas, I mean, even me now, we had sort of planned our holidays for the kids this year, and then amazingly, I get this opportunity to go and be in cricket, and but then unfortunately, I can't go on any of the holidays with the kids or some of the stuff that we planned. So which is it has its positives and negatives as well. But I suppose it could be worse though. I mean, I'm at Lords a lot of the time, so it's quite a nice view there. So I take that view over many other views around the world.
Speaking of views, what are the five most brilliant stadiums you have played in during your career?
Oh, there's quite a few, but I mean, I think obviously Newlands is one of the most iconic. It's beautiful. Love playing there. I love the Wanderers as well. It's an unbelievable stadium. Obviously, my home where I grew up playing there, I think is one of the best when the bull ring is packed. Um, and then for me, Old Trafford is a great place. I think it's one of the nicest grounds, and it's just getting better and better around. Obviously, Lords is iconic for any sort of cricketer or sportsman along the way, and everybody wants to go there. So yeah, there's some great stadiums, and then you get those big ones in Australia, which are just huge and immaculate. Um, yeah, so I think those are probably the top five. I'm probably missing out India, which is also incredible when the buzz in the stadium and just how they set up cricket there is fantastic. So there's lots to think about, but I think if I were to pick a couple, it'd probably be just Newlands, the Wanderers, and Old Trafford, or Lords and Old Trafford, I think.
Now, this is a sort of two-pronged question. What do you think your legacy as a player is, and what would you like your legacy as a coach to be?
I don't know about legacy too much, but I just think maybe someone who worked incredibly hard, um, gave to the team, and yeah, tried his best along the way to make things work. I think as a player, selfless and dedicated. Um, I think I would like as a player, but then also as a coach is also again, you know, hardworking, dedicated, and trying to make the squeeze out as much from the juice, or as much juice from the squeeze as you can from a team, from an organization, to get the best out of it, to enjoy the journey along the way.
Mm. And I know players' day probably starts when they get to the ground, but as a coach, when does your day start? And does it really end at the end of the day after the players have left? Are you looking at paperwork, video, just to try to prepare for the next day? What's happening?
Yeah, you're looking at all stuff. You're obviously planning. You're planning sessions. You're planning days ahead. You're planning in the future. What you're sort of looking like, making sure that workloads, all those sort of type of things are ready. You're looking at form of players. You're looking at how players fit into the team, into the mix over a period. But then ultimately, you're planning to try and win the game of cricket that's in front of you. I think sometimes you can get a lot of focus and a lot of details into the planning of things, and you end up losing sight on what's in front of you at this stage. And I think for me, it's about making sure we're in a position to win the game of cricket. That's right there. Um, and we have to win that game. And then ultimately you can plan ahead for the next one. But yeah, I don't think as a player you have a couple of days off and time off, and you can reflect on yourself. But for me as a coach, it's about now I've got 11 players or a squad of 15, or even down in the second squad of guys coming through and managing all of them to trying to get them the best out of each player and make sure that we're working to get the best for the team. So there's lots of different dynamics that go through, not just playing and form and batting and bowling and all those type of things, but also mentally where people at and what their sort of their strategy and what their thinking is. So mixing all of those together, and then again working with um, the other coaches in the mix, the SNCs and the medical staff, and getting all of those things. So yeah, there's a lot more detail and work that goes into the planning and stuff. But again, that's also fantastic, and it's great new learnings along the way now.
And speaking of player management, how do you manage a player who is out of form? What we think is out of form. They are not doing well. They have this rough spell, this rough patch that they're undergoing. How do you handle that with the player?
I think you got to go mentally. You got to speak to them, see where they're at, see what the blockers are, and then just work hard, get in there, get in the nets, go play some games. You've got to figure it out as you go and understand that that form is up and down. When you're in good form, that's actually probably the time to work the hardest because you want to keep that form as much as you can along the way. And then when you're in poor form, it's just trying to figure out, go back to what made you good, back to realizations and all those type of things that keep you in the moment. Because a lot of the time it can be in your head as well. So just trying to fix that and just trying to identify the blockers, but just keep believing and keep the hard work because things change quickly.
Brilliant. Dane, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you guys have a good season as you wind down, and it's been fun.
It's been great, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to always talk about these things. I love it. So anytime.
Fantastic.